Okay, can everybody see the screen? Okay. So today we will be discussing part 3 or our module 8. Okay. So here for part 3, we will be discussing refraction and accommodation tests for pediatric patients. Okay. So when it comes to refraction, an accurate refraction can help establish whether the child's visual system is developing normally. So during our visual milestones or during the development of vision, we were able to know kung ano yung normal na refractive error at a certain age. Nalaman natin na very common ang hyperopia sa mga bata. Then usually, emmetropization happens usually at 5 to 6 years old. And then we will also, alam din naman natin na if may makita tayong astigmatism, then usually it is just physiologic and usually bababa pa yan. So if in case you have an accurate refraction, then you would know when to prescribe, when to leave the eyes alone at first, or kung kailan na lang siya papabalikan for a follow-up. So if you find any abnormality with the vision, then it gives us an opportunity to correct any ametropia so that we can help the child achieve maximum visual acuity. Lalo na if papasok na siya sa school, matutulungan natin siya to be able to study and play, especially sa outdoor activities. So when it comes to refraction, when it comes to adult patients, ang goal lang natin is to give the best corrected visual acuity. So, di ba? We just prescribe the glasses needed, the prescription needed, even kung anong types of lenses yung i-prescribe natin. But when it comes to pediatric patients, there are certain goals when it comes to correcting the EOR. So first is we need to provide a focused retinal image. Should the child be hyperopic or myopic? Di ba, the focal point of a hyperopic eye is behind the retina, while when it comes to nearsighted, the focal point is in front of the retina. So when it comes to prescribing glasses, we need to give the child a focused retinal image. And we can also achieve balance between accommodation and convergence in prescribing for pediatric patients. We also do this to prevent amblyopia. For those na madedetect natin at an early age, we can still give correction para maiwasan natin ang paglala ng vision ng bata. Then for those with strabismus, we also prescribe glasses or sometimes prisms to correct and to permit fusion and preserve the binocularity of the child. When it comes to refractive techniques, marami tayong ginagamit. We make use of retinoscopy, or we can do subjective refraction by use of phoropter, or subjective refraction by use of a trial lens. Then I think lahat naman kayo is familiar then with AR. So, kaya ko natanong kanina if nag-retinoscopy na kayo or nag-refraction na kayo kay Doc Erica, what do you think is the most suitable refractive exam to do on a pediatric patient? Mas maganda bang EAR na lang yung bata para mas mabilis matapos kaagad? Do we need to do retinoscopy? Do we need to do refraction or subjective refraction? What do you think? Any ideas? What do you think is the best or the most suitable refractive exam for a pediatric patient? Yes. Feriando?
Doc AR po, since mas mabilis po yung procedure.
Okay. How about the others? Camarillo?
Doc, either phoropter or trial lens.
Subjective. Okay.
Subjective.
About,
And, ayun po, kasi po,
why?
Kung i-ready, makikita yung natatago na grado. Eh, hindi mo rin naman ipe-prescribe yun kasi malakas yung accommodation ng mga mga bata po. Sa subjective, malalaman mo kung ano yung pwede mong mailagay na grado sa salamin niya kung sakali. Kung ano yung kaya niya.
Okay, so you think walang age limit ang subjective refraction?
Meron po. Kapag baby pa, hindi pa kayang sumagot, hindi pa kaya mag-determine ng ng shapes, greetings lang.
So hindi mo na sila i-refract?
Rereti ko po.
Rereti, okay.
Okay.
Sige, how about the others? May nagsabing AR, may nagsabing subjective. How about the others? Do you agree with your classmates? Okay. So actually, when it comes to pediatric patients, the number one test na kailangan natin gagawin is always the retinoscopy. Kaya nung sabi ko kanina, when it comes to subjective, unless na lang matanda na yung a teenager or usually school age na yung bata na nakakaintindi sa instructions, you can do subjective retinoscopy. But if you do it with toddlers, with preschool, yung mga bata talaga, they might not understand your instructions. So, hindi ka rin sigurado kung accurate yung mga responses nila. Next, with AR naman kasi, mabilis siya, yes, but actually, it just gives us an estimate but not an accurate result. There are kids or there are pediatric patients that have high accommodation na possible nag-accommodate lang sila kaya 20/20 vision sila pero hindi na detect ng AR na meron pala silang latent hyperopia. Okay? Ngayon, when it comes to retinoscopy, it is objective, meaning kahit anong edad, pwede mo siyang gawin, walang limit when it comes to the age of the patient or the status of the patient. It also gives us an accurate finding if in case meron siyang hyperopia, meron siyang accommodation problems. So that is why when it comes to pediatric patients, retinoscopy is always the number one test na kailangan natin gawin. Okay. So retinoscopy, it is the most useful objective technique in determining the refractive state of the child. Ngayon, you are familiar with static retinoscopy and with dynamic retinoscopy. Static ret, this is your VT number 4. So it measures your refractive error. While the dynamic retinoscopy is your VT number 5 and your number 6. It measures the accommodation naman. Ngayon, when it comes to children or when it comes to pediatric patients, do we use a phoropter? Diba, with adult patients, sanay kayo, mas mabilis, mas madali, click-click lang, nakukuha nyo na yung result. But is that the same case for a pediatric patient? Do we use a phoropter? What do you think? Yes? No? Okay. So actually here, when it comes to retinoscopy, we make use of retinoscopy rack. So I'm not sure kung magagamit nito on your laboratory. So retinoscopy rack is a series of lens na nakamount dito, either minus lens or a plus lens here. Then ito yung gagamitin natin to neutralize the reflex of the child. Kung wala naman tayong retinoscopy rack sa bahay or sa mga sarili nating clinics, we can use trial lenses para ma-neutralize. And for older children na kaya na magsuot ng trial frame, yung hindi na nababother kapag linalagyan mo ng frame sa mukha, you can use trial frame and lenses for retinoscopy. Now, when it comes to refraction, there's always objective and the subjective refraction. So objective, that is the static, the Mohindra, and the cyclo. While subjective, this is your VT7 na usually ginagawa natin for older children and adults. Now, for this subject, we will focus more on your objective refraction. So static ret, from the word static, the accommodation should be in a relaxed state. So dito, the child fixates on a target at a distance of 6 meters or 20 feet. Ngayon, when it comes to adults, pinapatignan natin sila sa biggest letter, which is usually the letter E. But for pediatric patients na short attention span, hindi pa marunong ng letters, or talagang ayaw tumingin sa malayo. We can use videos, pictures, or any interesting toy. Or sometimes you can ask the help of the parent or the guardian na siya yung tatayo sa malayo para siya yung titingnan ng patient ninyo. Ngayon, depende na lang sa mga modules. I think may mga charts kasi ngayon na may pictures na, may mga LED screens na charts na may mga videos na nakalagay. So you can use those for as targets. When it comes to static reti, I think you're already familiar naman na, di ba? We check first the movement of the reflex. If it's against, we put minus lens. If it's against movement, we put, baliktad. If it's against with, if it's with, we put plus lenses. Then kapag nakuha mo na yung neutralization, you subtract your working distance to get the net. Usually, sa mga bata kasi, mahirap i-maintain yung fixation nila. Kung yung mga matanda, very common na inaantok pagdating sa retinoscopy. Nakikita mo na lang sila pumipikit na, natutulog. What more pa sa bata? So to ensure that the child's attention is held, you have to keep talking to the child. Kailangan ma-engage mo siya. You have to ask questions regarding the target. Either, can you describe the picture? What colors can you see? Is that a video? Is that a cartoon? Or ano yung nangyayari sa video na pinapatuod mo? Or is your mother waving at you? What is the color of the dress your mom you're wearing? Any questions na kailangan nakafocus yung bata sa target natin. But in case the child is too young na hindi talaga niya kayang mag-focus sa target, if the child keeps fixating on your retinoscope light, huwag kayong mabother, huwag kayong mairita, you can use that to your advantage and just adopt the Mohindra technique. So the Mohindra technique is also what we call the near retinoscopy or the near fixation retinoscopy. Ngayon, from the word near retinoscopy, we would assume na hindi na siya this measurement for EOR since nagkakaroon na ng accommodation since near target tayo. However, Mohindra technique is still a retinoscopy exam to check the EOR of the child. So here, instead of the targets na pictures, toys, or yung mother yung titignan, ang target natin dito is the retinoscope light. So here, for this to be accurate, kailangan all light sources should be extinguished. Meaning, yung buong clinic room mo or your examination room should be totally dark na ang makikita lang ng bata is the retinoscope light. Okay? By doing that, kahit papaano, nare-relax natin yung accommodation ng bata. Kasi wala na siyang ibang distractions, wala na siyang ibang titingnan. Makikita lang niya yung ilaw, doon lang siya titingin. So, that is why it is called near retinoscopy or near fixation. Meaning, ang retinoscope light lang, held at 50 centimeters, yung target ng bata. Unlike with static na both eyes is open, dito it's monocularly done. One eye should be occluded while the other is being checked. So here, if in case, syempre, this is a toddler or an infant, the child should be seated on the parent's lap facing the examiner. And if in case yung mga retinoscope lights nyo is medyo masyadong bright, for example, yung killer, so baka kasi masilaw yung bata, hindi rin tumingin sa ilaw, you can adjust your light settings, keep it to a minimum lang. And if in case kasi mawala ng attention niya sa light, you can play sounds, ring bells, para mag-grab ulit yung attention ng bata. Now, when it comes to the static ret, di ba, if 20 inches yung working distance mo, usually plus 2 yung binabawas natin for VT number 4. For Mohindra technique naman, instead of the working distance, minus 125 yung ina-add natin sa retinoscope result. So, saan ba natin nakuha yung 125? So, our working distance is 50 centimeters or that's 20 inches. Ko-convert mo siya sa dioptric equivalent niya, that's 2 diopter. Pero dito kasi, kahit na accommodation is already relaxed, we assume na nag-induce tayo ng myopia. And that is the myopia na 75 diopters. So, the working distance mo na 2 diopters, you subtract the myopia induced. That is why nakuha natin ang minus 125. Okay, so the computation for the net of Mahindra is gross plus minus 125. So for example, for plus 75, you add plus minus 125. Ang magiging net natin is minus 50 diopter. And for OS na plus 125, our net will be plano. Okay, nakuha ba yung computation? Okay, so check lang natin ha. So these are just some examples. So if you want to answer, you can write your answer sa chat box. If in case we have a minus 2 diopter, what will be our net? Okay, so minus 2 is minus 325. Next, what if it is plus 250 diopter? What will be our net? Okay, so it is plus 125. How about kung minus 1 combined with 25 cylinder, axis 180. Okay, so it's 225 combined with 25, axis 180. How about if it's plano with 50, axis 90? Okay, then it's 125 combined with 50, axis 90 as well. Kung 50 sphere lang, minus 50 sphere, so it's minus 50 plus minus 125, that is minus 175. Okay, so lahat ba naintindihan ang computation? Okay, so we'll move on. Next, we have cycloplegic refraction. So, I'm not sure if you've already done this with your previous subject. So, naramdaman nyo na kung paano yung pakiramdam ng napatahan ng cyclo. So, when it comes to cyclo, this is an essential tool in the examination of children. Okay? So, usually, kahit sinong tatanungin mo na examiner, they would always say na it's mandatory na kailangan gawin talaga siya for pediatric patients, especially if it's their first time to visit your clinic. But others might argue na kahit hindi naman na kailangan if in case the child has the following criteria. If the child has good acuity naman, normal yung oculomotor balance, walang signs of deviation, there is good stereopsis, no relevant family history, or if normal naman yung accommodation ng bata. So they would say if in case wala ka naman nakitang anything suspicious, or if the child is not symptomatic naman, or if in case bakit kailangan pang pahirapan yung bata, if in case normal findings naman. So when it comes to cycloplegic refraction, usually they would say it's mandatory, pero it's always the prerogative of the examiner. So it's the optometrist's call kung kailangan bang patakan or hindi. So who do we consider for cycloplegic refraction? First, those with unexplained poor VA, yung kahit sinobjective mo na, retinoscopy mo na, hindi nag-i-improve. Those with poor stereopsis. Those with esophoria or manifest ESO, kasi possible that they have either too much accommodation or mataas ang convergence nila, or possible they have latent hyperopia. those with over or underactive accommodation, those with family history of squint, amblyopia, or high hyperopia. If the patient is also anisometropic, pwede din siyang icyclo. And especially ngayon, na very common after the pandemic is pseudomyopia. Kaya kanina sinasabi ko din, hindi accurate CAR when it comes to kids, especially if they have over-accommodation kasi na laging na-stimulate yung accommodation and na-flex yung muscles nila. Sometimes, nare-reveal sa AR na they have a minus prescription. Pero pagdating sa RETI, it's plus pala. So, doon nare-reveal na meron siyang latent hyperopia. That is why it is especially important if you have anything suspicious na nakikita or meron kang suspicions of pseudomyopia especially, kailangan natin siyang icyclo. So what are the advantages of cyclo? It reveals latent hyperopia. It aids in fundus examination, especially those na nahihirapan mag-ophthalmoscope kapag hindi dilated yung pupil ng patient. And for those na nahihirapan during static kasi pawala-wala ng focus yung patient, it gives us an accurate fixation. The disadvantages naman. So, mostly sa inyo, I think na-experience na yung effects of cyclo. Kailan niyo siya ginawa? Ocular pharma ba? Or refraction na subject? Do you remember anong subject nyo kayo nagpatak ng cyclo? Last year lang ba? Ocu-pharma. Then, can you remember kung ano yung mga naramdaman ninyo during the installation? Dumilat sa dagat. So, meaning mahapde. Ano pa? Nakakasilaw. Glare. Yes. It's very common. So, these are some disadvantages of cycloplegic installation of the cycloplegic drops, which kailangan ma-explain nyo ng maayos sa mga parents or sa guardians. No? Hindi lang dahil kailangan natin siyang gawin, sasabihin mo sa parent, gagawin kasi natin to, this is mandatory, so kailangan natin siyang patakan. You have to explain to the parent or to the guardian the purpose of the test, bakit natin siya kailangan ipatakan ng cycloplegic drops, what are the effects na kailangan niyang i-anticipate or ano yung mangyayari kapag napatakan na siya ng drops. Because if hindi mo siya na-explain ng maayos, tapos hindi mo siya binigyan ng consent form, or hindi ka binigyan ng consent ng parent, baka ikaw pa yung sisisihin kapag may na-experience siyang side effects. So, number 1, dahil ng mga na-experience niyo, there is photophobia caused by the dilated pupils. Lalo na kung ginawa mo ito in the early morning, tapos umalis sila na silaw, na it's lunchtime na, so syempre very silaw yung patient. Number 2 is decreased ability or meaning blurry vision sa malapitan because of the cycloplegia. So this is especially something na kailangan i-explain nyo sa parent, lalo na kasi baka naman in-schedule nyo ng morning yung eye exam, pinataka nyo ng cyclodrops, tapos may exam pala siya sa afternoon, may school activity sila, hindi na siya nakapag-participate. Baka ikaw pa yung sisihin ng parent kung bakit bumagsak or bumaba yung grades nung patient dahil may na-miss out siyang activity. That is why, if need ng cyclo, you have to explain to the mother na ganito yung side effects. It would be better to schedule the examination after the school na lang. Then, there's also distress to the child on the installation of drops. Na-experience niyo yung hapdi, which is very common. So, tayo as an adult, medyo mataas na yung pain tolerance natin. So, yung mahapde, sandaling feeling lang yan. But when it comes to the children, na hindi naman nila alam bakit sila pinataka ng drops, bakit mo sila sinaktan. Diba? So, usually maraming pediatric patients ang natotrauma when it comes to the installation of drops. Makita ka pa lang nila na ready mo na yung drops, ayaw na nila, nagtatago or umiiyak na sila. So when it comes to the distress, you have to explain properly to the parent na ganito yung mararamdaman niya. May stinging sensation, konting hapde, that is normal. Baka naman kasi hindi niyo in-explain sa parent na may stinging sensation, papagalitan or magagalit pa sa'yo ang parent, bakit mo pinaiyak yung anak nila. Okay? Then, do not lie to the patient, do not lie to the child na hindi siya masakit. Kasi meron talagang mararamdaman yung bata. Kapag pinaiyak mo na siya, nasaktan na siya, baka ayaw na niya makipag-cooperate sa'yo, hindi mo rin matatapos yung examination mo. Then, usually, some other practitioners, they would mix or they would instill anesthesia first before the cycloplegic drop. Kaya lang, para sa akin kasi, it defeats the purpose. Yung anesthesia kasi, may stinging sensation din yan. So, if nasaktan na yung bata sa anesthesia, syempre, baka ayaw na niya makipag-cooperate kapag papatakan mo na ng cyclo. Kaya, usually sa akin, no need for anesthesia, just explain the effects properly para matulungan ka rin ng parent na magpatak sa anak nila. Then last, there is risk of adverse and allergic reactions. That is why you should have a thorough case history. Kailangan makuha mo kung meron ba siyang prior medical history of seizures or any CNS defects. Or sometimes baka may hypersensitivity siya or allergy sa certain na gamot. So when it comes to the drops, usually tatlo yung ginagamit. There is the atropine, cyclopentolate, and the tropicamide. Number 1 is the atropine. So this is slow-acting and long-lasting na drop natin. So it has fatal and adverse reactions, which I think is madali nyo remember if you understand the pakiramdam. So if in case before para kayong bulag sa malapitan, then you are as blind as a bat due to the cycloplegia. Then you can either be very uhaw or usually gusto nyo laging umiinom because it inhibits the sweat and salivary glands. It's as dry as bone effect. Then there is vasodilation of the blood vessels, meaning either may flushing or baka red yung cheeks no patient ninyo since there is dilation of the blood vessels. And asthmata sa hatter because it brings about CNS effects. Either magkakaroon ng hallucinations, ataxia, or psychotic reactions yung patient. Kaya dapat ma-explain niya rin ng maayos kung ano ang possible reactions after the drops. So this is slow action and long lasting. Then not for infants under 3 months. So usually hindi natin pinapatak ang atropine for very young infants, for those with albinism, those with Down syndrome, and those with seizure disorders. Baka mag-bring about pa siya ng CNS effects. Next, we have cyclopentolate. So cyclopentolate is the most popular choice for cycloplegia. Mas gusto yung effect niya when it comes to the cyclo, unlike with tropy. Si tropy kasi more on mydriasis siya, medyo mahina yung cycloplegia niya. Not unlike cyclopentolate na mas maganda yung effect sa muscles when it comes to the cycloplegia. So usually dito, if infants and patient ninyo na 3 months and younger, 1 drop lang yung ilalagay natin na nasa 0.5% solution lang. And those na mga light-skinned or fair-skinned, especially yung mga westerners, since kulang sila sa melanin, mas mabilis silang na-absorb yung gamot. So kahit 0.5% solution lang yung ipapatak mo, okay lang. But for those dark-skinned, mga morena, usually a second drop may be instilled if after 15 minutes, konti or little effect pa lang yung nakikita niyo sa pupils. In case naman, there's also the 1% solution. It offers the most useful cycloplegia in a reasonable time frame. That is why mas prefer nila yung 1.0% cyclopentolate. However, the cyclopentolate also is associated with some side effects. May CNS side effects din siya, seizures, and gastrointestinal disturbance. Next, we have tropicamide, which I think ito yung lagi natin ginagamit when it comes to cyclo, especially here in the Philippines. So, usually may 0.5% siya, but the 1% can provide short-acting cycloplegia in teens. And dito, gaya ng sabi ko, since mas gusto nila yung effect ng cycloplegia sa cyclopentolate, when it comes to tropicamide, usually 2 up to 3 drops tayo with 5-minute intervals. Okay, so ano ba ang pinagkaiba nilang tatlo? So si atropine, since this is um, it's long lasting and then short acting and long lasting effect. Nagkakaroon pa lang siya ng onset between 1 hour up to 3 hours. Sa cyclopentolate within 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Si tropicamide, it's fast acting within 30 minutes. Meron ng nakikitang effect. When it comes to the cycloplegia, long-lasting si atropine up to 10 days na may effect. Si cyclopentolate up to 12 hours. Si tropicamide up to 6 hours lang. For mydriasis naman, 14 days or almost 2 weeks na dilated yung pupil ng patient ninyo. For cyclopentolate, up to 48 hours maximum. Tropicamide, usually 8 to 9 hours lang siya. Kaya kung titignan ninyo, you have to be very careful kung ano yung papatak ninyo. Minsan kasi pare-parehas sila na red cup. Diba? Yung atropine has a red cup, the tropicamide also a red cup din yan. Kaya you have to read the label kung ano yung ipapatak nyo. Baka namali kayo ng patak, atropine, 2 weeks bulag yung patient ninyo. So, under the Board of Optometry Resolution number 1, ang pwede lang natin gamitin is tropicamide na 0.5% or the cyclopentolate na 1.0%. Pero dito sa Philippines, mas mainstream or mas mabilis kasi tayo makahanap ng tropicamide. Sa cyclopentolate kasi mahirap hanapin. If I'm not mistaken, before kasi nabibili mo lang siya sa US. Although I'm not sure kung may available na, pero I think baka ano pa siya. Prescription or itatanong mo pa talaga sa distributor kung nagpo-provide sila. That is why lagi lang tayong tropicamide. Next, we have accommodation tests naman. So, the dynamic retinoscopy, it's a term na narinig na natin kapag sa 21 steps. But dito, we measure the accommodation of the patient. Kung sa static, nakatingin lang siya sa malayo, relaxed yung accommodation. Sa dynamic, nag-i-induce naman tayo ng accommodation. So, we ask the patient to look at the near target and then we measure the effectiveness of the accommodation rather than the EOR. Ngayon, sanay kayo sa term na dynamic, but actually, dynamic retinoscopy is an umbrella term for the accommodation tests. Magpo-focus tayo for pediatric patients sa KNOTS method and the MEM method or the monocular estimate method. When it comes to KNOTS method, this is an accommodation test using your retinoscope. So dito, you would first ask the patient kung gaano kalayo yung working distance niya. Either nagre-read ba siya or yung near work ba niya is at 10 inches, 16 inches, or is it at 25 centimeters, 20 centimeters. I-measure ninyo iyon. Okay? So you would ask the child to fixate at a near target doon sa working distance niya. And then, doon sa working distance niya, habang nakatingin siya sa near target na yon, you would check the reflex ng pupils. Ideally or theoretically, habang nakatingin siya sa near target niya, neutral should be found. Pero sometimes or realistically, minsan hindi talaga nagde-neutral yan, may nakikitang small width movement. If in case naman against movement yung makita ninyo, you need to move your reti towards the patient until neutrality is observed. If in case with movement naman yung nakita ninyo, you have to move the reti backwards hanggang makita ninyo na neutral na yung reflex niya. And then, you have to take note of the distance between the fixation target or your original distance and sa distance kung saan nag-neutral yung movement ninyo because that is measured as the lag of accommodation. Okay, so if against movement tayo, it means that the child is over-accommodating, meaning there is lid of accommodation. But if the child shows with movement, under-accommodating naman, meaning kulang yung accommodation na ginagamit ng bata, and that's what we call the lag of accommodation. So, ulitin ko lang, for example, for KNOTS method, ang ginagamit kasi natin is the Ulster Cardiff. Yun nga lang, wala tayo sa Pilipinas ng ganitong instrument. So you can either make use of rough rule or sometimes magta-take measure kayo. So dito, we assume that the patient has a working distance of 25 centimeters. So ilalagay mo yung near target, it's fixed at 25 centimeters. At the same time, ikaw, hawak mo yung retinoscope, ilalagay mo rin yung retinoscope at 25 centimeters. Then from there, i-observe mo yung reflex ng bata. Okay? So theoretically, dapat since same distance lang ang retinoscope at ang working distance mo, theoretically dapat neutral siya. Pero kung may makita kang movement, igagalaw natin yung retinoscope mo. So if you find that there is against movement, ilalapit mo yung retinoscope mo. You will move forward with the retinoscope, but the target is fixated sa 25. Hindi gagalaw yung target mo. Yung retinoscope lang, yung i-move forward mo if it is against movement. If with movement naman na nakita mo, you move the retinoscope backward, away from the patient. Hanggang may nakita ka ng neutral or neutrality na yung nakita mo, then ito-take note mo lang yung distance niya. So for example, at 25 distance here, nakita mo na yung bata, there is with movement. So you move the reti away from the child hanggang makakuha ka ng neutrality. So if your working distance is 25 centimeters, convert that into diopter, that is 4 diopter. Nag-neutral siya at 33 centimeters here. Convert that as well into dioptric power. So 100 divided by 33, more or less nasa 3 diopters yan. 4 diopters minus 3 diopters, then our lag of accommodation is 1 diopter. Okay? Nakukuha ba kung paano yung computation or paano ma-measure yung lead and lag of accommodation? Okay ba? Naintindihan? So the normal value of the lag is around 0.25 to 1 diopter. If in case the lag is greater than normal, meaning nasa plus 125 and up, possible there is an uncorrected hyperopia. If in case unequal naman yung lag between the eyes, possible anisometropia naman yung meron yung patient ninyo. Then next, we have MEM retinoscopy or the monocular estimation method. This one actually is your VT number 5 or your retinoscopy at dynamic retinoscopy at 20 inches. So here, instead of moving the retinoscope, the child is looking at your near targets here. Then you would check the reflex. Then instead of moving your retinoscope, maglalagay ka ng neutralizing lens and your endpoint is kung saan nag-neutral siya. Then kung ano yung lenses in place mo, then that is your retinoscopy recording. Next, we have NPA or our near point of accommodation. So here, minimeasure din natin yung accommodation based sa age and sa distance. Diba? We use rough ruler or sometimes you have your own tape measures and your near targets. Then you move the near target towards the patient. Magre-report siya kapag blur na siya. And yung inches na yon or yung distance na yon, i-convert nyo rin siya into diopters. And then, i-measure nyo siya or i-compare nyo siya kung akma ba yung results ninyo dun sa expected value para sa edad ng bata. Okay, so that is all for our refraction and accommodation test. Any questions, any concerns about the topics? Okay, so if no questions, then we will move na sa next module. Can everybody see the screen? Or hindi pa? Okay, nakikita na. Okay. So, next is the part 4. So, kung kanina part 3 na tayo, that is the refraction and accommodation. So, ngayon, it's binocular vision tests, motility test, and stereopsis test na tayo. So, I think you're already familiar with this test na discuss na, I think, baka sa Optoprac or sa binocular vision subjects ninyo. So, parang review na lang yan ito sa inyo. Okay? So, how do we check the binocular status of the eyes? What do you think is the number 1 tests na kailangan natin gawin? So, when you say, pag sinabi ng patient or ng teacher ninyo, how do we check the binocular status? What's the first exam or what's the first test na that comes to your mind? Yes, it's always the cover test. Cover test is one of the simplest objective tests. Actually, kahit wala kang dalang occluder, gamitin mo lang yung kamay mo, gumamit ka lang ng any short paper, pwede ka nang mag-perform ng cover test. Okay? So, this is the simplest objective test, pero it gives us a lot of information. Hindi lang, nakita lang natin na may movement, may recovery, pero it gives us the type, the size, and the control of the deviation. Nalalaman natin, is it may iso ba? May exo? Is there hyper, hypo? Or is the recovery motion controlled? Is it jerky? Naglalag ba yung eye muscles ng bata? It gives us an idea if there is binocular function and the EOM anomalies. Ngayon, when it comes to cover test, usually 2 methods tayo. It's the unilateral cover test or the cover-uncover and the alternating cover test. Ngayon, the unilateral, since one eye at a time yung tinatest natin, it can differentiate or it can determine the presence of atropia from aphoria. Your alternating cover test, makikita lang na may movement, it can determine kung may aphoria, may atropia na present, pero cannot differentiate between the two. That is why it is mandatory or it's customary na kailangan unahin mong gagawin ang unilateral cover test, tsaka mo gagawin yung alternating after. Ngayon, I'm not sure if Dr. Erica will be requiring you to have translucent occluders. Sa akin kasi, since lecture lang naman ako, I am not requiring you to have. Kahit yung mga normal na cover test lang na ganito, you can actually use it. This one nga, nakuha ko lang sa convention. So, it's just a normal occluder. Meron lang siya near targets here, even dito. So, any occluder for me will do unless Dr. Erica will require you to have translucent kagaya nito. So, these are translucent cover occluders, white and red. So, usually ito, it will just be helpful for you to see the movement of the covered eye. Since translucent naman siya, di ba, i-cover mo to, you will see the movement of this eye. Pero since it's translucent, makikita mo rin yung movement ng covered eye. So makikita mo, are they moving together or are they moving in one direction? Especially, ito din, it's transparent or translucent. Makikita mo rin yung movement ng covered eye. Pero yun lang, I'm not sure lang kung i-require kayo ni Dr. Erica. Pero sa akin, since lecture lang naman tayo, I am not requiring you to have this. For pediatric patients, kahit kung meron kayong mga ball pen, this is a ball pen lang, na may mga unicorn or usually may mga shapes or sometimes may toys or may design siya sa dulo, you can use this one as your near targets. Or baka pinagawa kayo before sa Optoprac ninyo ng mga popsicle sticks, you can actually use that one. This one reduced Snellen siya for adult patients or for teenagers. Pero kung pediatric patients, yan, may mga stickers. Look at the panda. Look at the fruit. Or usually, look at the grapes. Kahit ganyan lang, para this may fixation sticks lang kayo na pwede nyo sabihin sa bata, can you tell me kung anong fruit or anong animal yung nakikita mo? Just follow. So, and it will do naman as fixation targets as long as it's of the child. Iba naman gumagamit parang flashlight,
lights.
Yung nag-flicker na lights, pwede rin naman yan. Okay? So when it comes to unilateral cover test kasi, kaya it can differentiate between atropia and aphoria. Since this one is covered, you can actually see the recovery motion of the other eye. So alam mo kung naiwan ba siya, is it alternating, or is it aphoria na babalik sa normal position? Unlike with an alternating test kasi, you would do this test, then lilipat ka sa kabila, then another here, then another here. Nakikita mo lang yung motion, but you cannot differentiate if it's tropia talaga or baka naman phoria lang siya. That is why kailangan unahin lagi ang unilateral before you move on to alternating cover test. Ayun naman, when it comes to your recordings, I'm not sure kung paano yung naturo sa inyo if you just write exotropia at far, isophoria at near, or kung tinuro din ba sa inyo na kailangan included yung recovery motion. So if in case hindi pa, you can use the grading system for recording heterophoria with the description of the recovery motion. So either if it's a rapid and smooth recovery, pwede nyo siyang i-categorize as grade 1. If it's slightly slow or jerky siya, then it's grade 2. If it's definitely slow, pero nag-jerk pa siya, pero hindi naman nagbe-break yung fusion or yung fixation ng patient, then it's grade 3. But if it's very slow, jerky, tapos after ilang beses mo siya kinover, nagbe-breakdown yung fixation, meaning yung isa naiiwan na, yung isa naka-fixate pa din. Pero after blinking, bumabalik sa normal, then that is grade 4. But if in case after 1 to 3 covers, napapagod yung mata, nagbe-breakdown, yung isa naiiwan sa ganitong position, yung isa naka-straight pa din, and that is grade 5 naman. So when it comes to writing your recording, either isophoria at far with grade 1 recovery or exotropia at near with grade 2 recovery. Pwede naman yan. Para at least the examiner or your data, para at least malaman nyo if, for example, vision therapy nyo siya in the future, then kapag i-compare nyo yung cover test after the vision therapy with the before, malalaman nyo, nag-improve din ba yung recovery motion ng patient. Next, we have the Hirschberg test naman. So, Hirschberg test is a gross test for ocular alignment. Malalaman lang natin if there is exo or there is esotropia, depende sa corneal reflex. Yun lang, when it comes to the recording, paiba-iba kasi. Merong iba, ilalagay lang centric or eccentric. Meron namang iba, for every 1 millimeter na displacement ng corneal reflex, it is equivalent to 22 prism diopters. I think ang turo din naman sa inyo is every 15 yung jump. So if it's at the central, it's centric. Kapag if it's between the pupil center and the pupillary margin, then that's 15 prism diopter. If nasa pupil siya mismo, then that is 30 prism diopter. If nasa limbus naman, then that is 45 prism diopters. So any will do naman when it comes to the recording, lalo na Hirschberg is just a gross estimate for the deviation. So for example, if you find that both corneal reflex is central, then the patient is orthophoric. But if you find that the corneal reflex is nasa limbal area na, then it's esotropic. Pero if it's nasally positioned naman, then it's exotropia. Next, we have the Krimsky test. Si Krimsky naman, this is a test to measure the amount or the deviation of the eyes. So here, while doing Hirschberg, maglalagay tayo ng prisms in front of the deviating eye. Then, o-observe lang natin kung habang naglalagay tayo ng prism, yung corneal reflex is pumapantay dun sa fixating eye ng patient. For Krimsky na original. For the traditional na Krimsky test, prisms are placed in front of the deviating eye, but for other countries, they use modified Krimsky test na yung prism is linalagay sa fixating eye naman. So dito, we can use prism bars or loose prisms. Both are available naman sa office. So for example, if we have an esotropic patient, yung corneal reflex ng deviated eye is nandito siya. So we put prisms. So yung prism na ilalagay mo, it's increasing in power hanggang endpoint natin is magpantay na central yung reflex natin. Usually, rule of the thumb when it comes to the position of the prism, para sa akin, para hindi ko siya makalimutan, kung nasaan yung position ng mata, ng deviated eye, kung nasaan siya, nandun yung apex. So, kung iso siya, meaning papasok yung mata, yung apex, papasok din. So, we have a base out. If in case naman exo siya, na palabas yung mata, then sumusunod yung apex doon, palabas din yung apex, then we have a base in. So, ganun lang yung, para sa akin, hindi ko makalimutan. Kung nasaan yung deviation, nandun yung apex natin. Para at least alam nyo kung base in, base out yung gagamitin ninyo. Then, it's increasing in power. Then, kung ano yung last na prism na linagay mo, kung saan nag-central parehas yung reflex, then that is our endpoint. Next, we have prism cover test naman. So, for prism, maglalagay din tayo ng prisms ulit sa deviated eye, pero instead of Hirschberg, mag-alternate cover test naman tayo. So dito, maglalagay ka muna ng, sabihin natin, 2 prism diopter, then you do alternate cover test. Kung may movement ka pang makikita, you increase the prism power hanggang, for example, sabihin na natin at 10 prism, nag-alternate cover test ka, wala ka nang nakitang movement, then that is your endpoint. So recording natin will be 10 prism diopter, depende na lang kung base in or base out, depende sa deviation ng mata mo. So that is how we measure the amount of deviation using prism cover test. And okay tayo? Naintindihan ba ang prism cover test and ang Krimsky? Okay. So next, we have 20 prism base out test. Ang 20 prism base out test naman, this is not a test to measure the deviation, pero this is just a fusion test sa mga bata na 5 years old and below. Kasi naman, may mga bata na hindi pa rin talaga marunong or nakakaintindi ng instructions. If you do prism cover or if you do Krimsky or sometimes if you do other fusion tests, baka nalilito pa sila. So, ang 20 prism base out test is pang-check lang sa bata kung nagkakaroon na siya ng fusion or wala. So, dito, maglalagay lang tayo ng prism base out. Either eye is fine since ito, usually ginagawa natin siya for heterophoria. So, either pwede mo siyang ilagay sa right eye, sa left eye, any is okay as long as it is base out prism. So, habang nakatingin yung patient mo sa malayong target or sa distant target, you put a prism base out and observe the eyes na linagyan mo ng prism. The normal response of the eye, or sabihin na natin defense mechanism ng mata, is to adapt kapag linagyan mo ng prism. Mag-a-adapt siya, it's a defense mechanism to restore normal fusion. Then kapag tinanggal mo ng prism, babalik siya or mag-a-abduct again upon removal, babalik sa normal position mo. So here, hindi naman kaagad 20 prism yung ibibigay natin. Kapag bata pa, around 6 months, 10 prism muna ilalagay natin. For 12 to 18 months, 15 prism base out. Kapag over 18 months, tsaka pa lang natin gagamitin yung 20 prism base out. So ulitin ko lang, the eyes, heterophoric, in normal position tayo. Maglalagay ka ng prism base out. Ang titignan natin na movement, dapat mag-a-adapt, meaning papasok or mag-move inward yung mata natin. Then, upon removal, dapat babalik siya sa normal position. Okay? So, again, this is just a fusion test. Titingnan lang natin kung may fusion or wala yung bata. If in case wala kang nakitang movement, it means na possible wala pang fusion yung bata or dahil baka sobrang bata pa, lack of attention. Possible hindi siya nakatingin sa fixation target mo. If in case merong movement but it is slow or sometimes slow recovery after the prism is removed, possible poor pa yung fusion ng bata. Okay, next we have suppression test naman. So, when it comes to suppression, nangyayari ito, minsan kasi one image na nakikita ng mata, hindi pantay sa nakikita ng kabilang mata. Okay? So dito, there is cortical inhibition. Possible kapag amblyopic yung patient, meron siyang anisometropia or antimetropia, hindi pantay yung image or quality nung nakikita ng one eye and the other eye. Possible, if sabihin natin yung right eye, it's plano, normal yung size na nakikita. Yung isa naman, meron siyang -3. So maalam natin, the minus grade or a minus lens would make the image smaller. So kung hindi pantay yung image size, nagkakaroon ng aniseikonia. And since hindi pantay, isang maliit na image, isang malaking image, hindi kayang i-fuse ng brain natin. Kaya ang ginagawa niya, kung ano na lang yung mas maganda or mas okay yung vision, yun yung nagiging fixating eye natin. Yung nakikita ng poor eye, yun yung nasosuppress. Sometimes, kapag naman deviated yung eye, one eye is fixating, one eye is deviated, hindi sila pantay ng visual field. Ang fixating eye natin, 180 degrees yung nakikita, pero kapag deviated eye naman, sabihin na natin kung papasok, etong area lang ito yung nakikita niya, at may part siya or may visual field siya na hindi nakikita. Kaya minsan, nahihirapan din yung eyes to fuse the images. So if the suppression comes from the macula, ginagawa ito ng macula natin to avoid confusion. If it comes from the peripheral retina naman, it does suppression to avoid diplopia. So how do we detect suppression in children? So we use word dot test, Brock's ring test, or the Bagolini glasses test. For word dot test, para lang tong flashlight na meron siyang 4 na ilaw. May 2 green, 1 red, 1 white. The patient wears a red-green glasses. So kung walang red-green glasses na kasama yung word dot test ninyo, tignan nyo yung mga auxiliary lens ninyo sa trial lenses. Meron doon red lens and green lens. So the red lens you will put on your right eye, your green lens ilalagay mo sa left eye. And then you just ask the patient how many dots yung nakikita niya. So this is the traditional na word dot test, 2 green, 1 red, 1 white, and the red-green glasses. Meron ding pediatric version na instead of dots, images sila. So what are the possible responses? So if 2 dots lang, both red, meaning there is suppression of the left eye. Kasi yung green lens nasa left eye, dapat may nakikita din siyang green. Pero since there is suppression, wala tayong green color na nakikita. If 3 dots naman, meaning right eye yung nagsusuppress kasi right eye is yung may red lens. If in case 4 dots, 2 green, 2 1 red, 1 white. Sometimes kasi yung white, nami-mistake nila as pink. That is okay as long as 4 dots yung nakikita ng patient. It means there is normal binocular vision. If in case 5 dots naman, 3 red, 2 red, 3 green, then there is diplopia. Next, we have the Brock's ring test. So here, this is just a simple test using a 4-foot piece of string na merong 3 different colors. Then you just ask the patient to fixate at 1 bead at a time. So if sa far target siya tumingin, you would expect that the child would see an inverted V. If it's middle target, then X dapat yung makikita ng patient. If it's near target, sometimes X kung nakikita pa niya tong string na malapit sa nose niya, or sometimes letter V yung nakikita niya, those are the normal results. But in case there is suppression, walang makikita yung isang mata, single string and single beads lang ang makikita natin. Next, we have Bagolini. So for Bagolini, ito, sometimes may ready-to-wear na Bagolini lenses. Pero minsan, meron din tayo dun sa auxiliary lens ninyo sa trial lens. One striated lens is positioned at 45 degrees. one is at 135 degrees. Dapat they would form an X. So here, while the child is wearing the striated lenses, a spotlight is shown or your pen light is shown in front of the patient, then you just ask the patient to describe kung ano yung nakikita niya. How many lines or how many spotlights yung nakikita niya. The normal response should be an X, meaning two lines crossing together, and a spotlight in the middle. If in case there is diplopia, two lines pero hindi siya cross or meaning displaced yung lines, tapos dalawa yung light na nakikita. If in case there is suppression, one line lang and one light yung nakikita. If in case naman there is scotoma, there is a gap in the middle. Okay, so next we have motility test. So motility test naman, it gives us a range of the ocular movements present. If in case pinatingin mo ba siya sa superior right, inferior left, meron bang mata na naiiwan, or are the movements of the eye comitant? So here, you have to take note na kung infant yung bata ninyo, you have to expect that the ocular movements of the child are not yet coordinated. So there might be a possibility na kahit pinapafixate mo, baka may isang matang naiiwan, lalo na nagde-develop pa lang yung movements natin at the first 3 months of life. So how do we do motility test? So instead of the pen light, you can use interesting toys na pwede niyang i-fixate. Minsan may mga strobe lights, pwede yung mga yon. So we make use of the broad age test. So it is designed to test the actions of the EOMs. So fina-follow lang ng patient yung target mo at the 9 cardinal fields of gaze. So either you start at the midline, then you go to one shoulder, then up and down, back to the midline, and then another shoulder here, up and down. Or if you want to try the CSM test, yung ginagamit ng mga ophthalmologists, which is okay as well, ang iti-take note natin dito, are the eyes central, or is the movement steady, or na-maintain ba ng patient yung fixation? That is the CSM test. Next, we have stereopsis. So meaning if you have stereopsis, meaning you have good binocular vision. Since sa 3 levels ng binocular vision natin, di ba, there is simultaneous perception, there is fusion, and the last level is the stereopsis. So if you have a high degree of stereopsis, it means you have good binocular vision. Pero it does not mean na kung pangit yung stereopsis mo, pangit din yung binocular vision mo. Possible kasi may nagtitrigger lang, or baka there is an ocular anomaly, that is why you have poor stereopsis. So here, poor stereopsis requires careful assessment to establish the cause. So one test to check for stereopsis is the Lang 2 pencil test. This is just a test for gross, kasi there are 2 types of stereopsis. We have the gross, we have the fine stereopsis. Yung gross, this is just depth perception in general. Pero yung kuwari, yung hyperacuity, yun yung hindi natin na-measure dito. So here, ang method niya, you hold a pencil and then the child will be holding another pencil din. Then, ipapa-align mo lang yung tips nila. So you show your pencil, then the child holding yung pencil niya, kailangan naka-align lang silang ganyan. Okay? Then, ipapa-observe mo, kaya ba ng bata if gagawin niya binocular, or kung nahihirapan ba siya kapag monocular lang niya yung ginagamit. So, usually ito, parang game lang siya na ipapagawa mo sa bata. So, it gives an estimate of around 3,000 to 5,000 seconds of an hour. But with Lang test naman, ito talaga, meron tayong card or a screening tests for the stereopsis of pediatric patients. So, dito, 2 images are seen separately by each eye, pero na-fuse naman nila. So, if binocularity exists, images are fused and seen in them. So, advantage nito, especially, yes, may nag-raise ng hand. Meron ba? Wala? Okay, so here the advantage of the lung test is walang susuot na filters or na glasses yung bata. There are patients na sensitive na ayaw magsuot ng trial frames ng mga glasses. So ito, ipapahawak mo lang yung card sa kanila, tapos ititilt lang nila yung card, hahanapin yung mga images. Parang if you have keychains before or yung mga cards na kapag tinitilt na nag-iiba yung nakikita ninyo, parang ganun yung idea niya. So, for example, parang ganito, parang sa keychain na to, for example, yan, pag tinitilt mo, nag-iiba yung nakikita. Parang ganyan lang din yung sa lung test. So, makikita nyo siya na it's random na dots. For example, ganito. Pero kapag tinitilt nila, may nakikita silang images. Sa lung 1, it measures the stereopsis from 1,200 seconds up to 550. Pero ang makikita nila dyan habang tinitilt nila is a cat, a star, and a car. Pag sa lung 2 naman, mas fine yung stereopsis na measure from 200 to 600 seconds of an arc. Tapos yung nakikita niya is an elephant, is a moon, star, and a car as well. So ganyan lang siya. Parang game lang din. Na tinitilt, hinahawakan niya from up, down, gaganunin. Then makikita niya yung mga images na ito. Alam ko, I'm not sure kasi kung meron tayo. Pero parang tanda ko meron. Or nawala na lang siya. So, hanapin ko na lang sa school. Tignan natin kung magagamit niyo sa laboratory. Next, we have the Frisbee test. So here, hindi rin siya gumagamit ng red-green glasses or ng Polaroid. Pero dito sa 4 na boxes na to, merong isang box dyan na parang may naka-embossed or parang may makikita kang parang nakaangat na round shape. Tapos, yun yung hahanapin ng patient. So, ituturo lang niya kung nasaan yung bilog na yon. Is it at this square? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Ganun lang siya. Ipe-present mo lang yung card sa kanya. Then, ituturo lang niya kung nasaan yung parang naka-elevate na circle. Okay, so this one, it also measures from gross and fine stereopsis. Next, we have the TNO test. Ito naman, gumagamit tayo ng red-green filters. So, ito, gumagamit din siya ng random dot. Pero, 7 plates yung gagamitin natin. Hahanapin din niya yung different shapes dito sa mga pages na to. I think TNO parang wala ata tayo sa school. So, it can assess stereoacuity down to 15 seconds. So, mas finer yung stereopsis na measure nito. Next, we have our favorite or yung lagi natin ginagamit sa school. It's the Titmus test. So here, it measures the gross stereopsis using the fly. So you just ask the patient, can you see the wings? Can you pinch it? And then, fine stereopsis naman, yung nakikita natin or na-measure natin with this second page. So I think lahat naman ata kayo na-try na yung Titmus kasi ito yung marami tayo sa school. Pero may nakita din akong random test. This is a modified Titmus test naman. Na instead of fly, may makikita lang din siyang images dito using the polarized lenses. So this is a measure of the gross stereopsis. And then ito yung fine stereopsis. So ito, may nakita akong ganito sa office. So I think ito baka magagamit ninyo sa laboratory. So it also uses polarized filters. Okay? So that is all for our Module 9. Any questions, any concerns, or na-overload ba kayo sa sobrang dami ng diniscuss na test? Okay, so yun lang.